What's going on, guys? This is Ninja from Afterlife Gaming, and today I'm going to go over each separate class on their own and what they do and what I prefer to use if they were my characters and if they are my characters. So we're going to start off with the Warrior. The Warrior is a very good tanking class as a whole. I love the DPS out of a Warrior as well, but every time somebody's tanking, they always seem to grab aggro, and they're always there to reach that potential DPS that they can pull out. If you have a good Warrior, then he's going to grab aggro either way. So, now we're off to the Paladins. The Paladins are good for both DPS, healing, and tanking. I see less Tankadins these days. There used to be Tankadins everywhere. That's another word for Paladin tanks, if you didn't know. Very good tanks are easy to find with Paladins, easy to hold aggro. Healing Paladins, they're not easily found either, because you have classes like the Shaman and the Monk and the Druid and the Priest that cover those healing processes. So overall, if you're going to roll Paladin, I would prefer that you go either Retribution or Prot, just overall in your leveling process and rating feature. As a hunter, your goal is to reach the max DPS. This is a fun class to level, and I prefer to use it for PvP as well. I love hunters as PvP. I actually use a hunter as a PvP class. If you would like to see my hunter, this is what my hunter looks like. He's my PvP hunter. This is him in his Resilis Gladiator gear for PvP. I love him for PvP wise, and he's just overall an amazing character. So we're going to talk about the Rogue. The Rogue is another PvP method class that I like to use. I remember back in the old days when there were twinks like level 19, 29, 39 tanks. They just would crush everybody in the PvP area. And with the recent patches, they've gone down and up and down and up. So it's an up and down process when you play the Rogue. I don't see a lot of DPS rating Rogues anymore as I used to back in the other expansions. But overall, it's a good class. The Priest. Yeah, you have the option to have a healing priest or a DPS priest. If I was you, I would roll Shadow and Discipline as a DPS priest. Their DPS is amazing and fully out there, and it's amazing to see what these classes have, what the priest has to offer and brings to the table. Healing priests are hard to find. Good healing priests are hard to find in the rating content. Most of the time, people are going to use the priest as a PvP character as well. The Shaman. I love the Shaman because it gives you something to kind of have and use. It brings more DPS and healing. Shamans are really good for outside heals as well as the Druid. They bring more to the table as far as healing goes. As a Shaman, you have what's called Heroism, which brings your raid to the point where they can go even faster and better to the abilities of their character and reach its maximum potential out of that character. Mainly used in raids. So Shamans are really good for healing raids, outside heals, and healing tanks. So overall, the Shaman's a good character. The Mage. I love mages. Mages are fun to play. If you're going to level as a mage, have it as a frost mage. You get to level with your pet that you get as a mage, as a frost mage, which is little elemental. It's really fun to have and is always there to help you guard yourself. If you're gonna raid later on 90 or 95 in the next expansion with Warlords or Draenor coming out, then I would prefer you go Fire. Fire's a lot better DPS. If you don't know what DPS stands for, DPS stands for damage per second. Mages always seem to get to the top, or one of the two that gets to the top. It's always a match between the mages and the warlocks. So now we're talking about the warlocks. The warlocks are just about the same, except with the warlocks you're going to be critting off their their curses. Their curses use a lot of shadow damage and everything else. They also come with a buff when you use their pets. For certain pets, is different buffs. Like with the little guy right here, you get what's called Blood Pact, which increases your stamina by I think 2% or 5% or 10%, one of the two. Overall, warlocks and mages always top the DPS charts whenever I use them. They're just overall a good class as far as DPS goes, and I prefer to use them in my raids as far as long distances go. Range DPS. The Monk class. The Monk class was released back in the Mist of Pandaria expansion, which is the latest expansion pack. The Monk class can be used for healing, DPS, and tanking. For what I've heard, tanking. I've never used the Monk class as tanking, but I prefer to use the Monk class for healing. Another good class for area healing. Monks are very good among solo healing as well. So overall, the Monk class I think is another an overall class that can actually be there to do all three things, where you can actually have the abilities to see where you really stand with this game. The Death Knight. The only way to have a Death Knight is to level your own character beside the Death Knight to level 55. The Death Knight came out in Wrath of the Lich King, a part of the Lich King storyline. Cool things about Death Knights is the storyline itself and how you get to be a Death Knight in the beginning. They're good for DPS nowadays. Blood DPS is amazing. Unholy DPS is amazing. If you have a Death Knight, you're going to be using close distance just like a warrior does. And you're going to be generating rune power, which you will learn as you progress in your Death Knight days. If you level, I would prefer that you go unholy. You have the choice to have more options as an unholy Death Knight. We're going to talk about the Druid for a second. The Druid is overall a good class as well. You can do all three things with the Druid class as well. The Druid class can heal, DPS, and be a tank. I see less tank druids as well. The main tanks I see is paladins and warrior tanks. Those are the main tanks that I see these days. Druid tanks are kind of going into the past and evolving into the future as DPS and healing class. Overall, I think they're amazing healing classes as well for area healing as well as individual healing. This class is overall another class that can test your skills at this game. I would also prefer to use the Druid as a PvP class. If you're raiding, I think the best thing to do would be healing. It's just another learning experience. Overall, what this comes down to, guys, is all about what you like and what you do, and what your main role you want to be in your raiding or PvP experience. This is my protection paladin. I've always loved tanking, and that's just what I have because I have control of what I have to do in my raid. And if I don't do my job as a tank, then the whole raid fails. And that's something I like. I like to have pressure. For all your tips and upcoming videos and gaming information and gaming news, but like my channel up and subscribe to my channel, and there'll be a whole lot more better and amazing content coming out. I appreciate all your help and everything else. See you guys.